Yes, everyone. Only One United. Natalie here with Rich and our late guest Lanzel. Rich, thanks for coming on. We're here to talk about transfers again. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm okay, mate. How are you?
I'm good. And Lanzel, thanks for coming on. Last minute edition, but you're here for the ride.
Yeah, that's it. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Good. Listen, I want to just go straight into it. We had her down as Jackie Elizabeth. I don't know, but I think her surname is Ovalle, and we've seen it coming out regularly about we're linked to her. She's a left winger. People are saying she can play forward, she can play midfield, attacking mid. I think we do need a winger, and we're going to go into the ones, contracts and all that. We're going to go into that, but just, I suppose, Rich, what do you know about her? And can you see it happening? Can you see her join United? Is January too soon? Is it more a summer move? What's your view on just, I suppose, these links that are coming out?
Bit 50-50. I think, firstly, yes, she's a good player. I'm not going to profess that I've watched her every week in Mexico, but I do remember watching her at the Under-20 World Cup, albeit that was quite a long time ago now. It was 2018, I think it was, when I was out in France, and that was when I first saw her play against England, and she was very, very good. She was Mexico's best player at that point. Is it a player Man United need? It's interesting because obviously the attack has changed so much compared to last season, obviously with JC and Mallard and Miyazawa, etc. Garcia, obviously, thought she was going to come in a bit more, but obviously Keats has done really well. And I still think they're finding that way of playing, obviously without that focal point that Russo was. They're playing in a different way. And I still think they're finding their way with that. So, yes, on the one hand, you'd be throwing in a very good player. On the other hand, it's where does she fit into the plan? Because I still think they're finding their way with that, and throwing more bodies into it's not always the way to go. But the flip side of it is obviously, like you say, this time of year, you start to get these rumors, agents start talking, they want to get their players into bigger leagues and bigger teams. So there's always that little bit of pinch of salt until you get something a bit more, substantial. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think on the face of it should be a good signing.
Rich's cat, I think that is. Lanzel.
Yeah, she's always about. She can come on one week.
Yeah, bring her in the cat. We'll talk to her. Lanzel, what do you think? Yeah. Obviously, we've heard it very heavy. I feel it is. I feel like it's very heavy that we're saying we're going to buy her, and they're talking about the prices that they've offered. So for me, it sounds, well, from what I've heard as well from, I say, a reputable source. I'm not saying that these people are reputable. I don't know who they are, but from a reputable source, they've told me that, yes, we are interested. Of course, we're interested in top class player. That's what you want to be interested in, but it might not be, we might not get her. She might go somewhere else. And I think what Rich is saying, there's a lot of this chatter now, isn't there? Agent. We know what agents do. Victor's saying sounds like she's coming. I mean, what do you think as a fan? As you're hearing Rich say, she's the best. We know people in Mexico who love her, don't we? So yeah, what do you think?
Well, listen, any top class player or any player that has potential, we should be in for them no matter what anyway, because of the club that we are. I haven't heard of her personally, so I can only go off what everybody else is saying. But yeah, I'm with Rich though. Where does she fit in? Does that mean that one comes in and one's leaving and things like that? Because that's too many players in the attacking line for me. I don't think winger is the position that we need to strengthen in January. Yeah. But yeah, if she's a top player, can she play fullback as well?
No. Oh, no. But saying that I thought he wanted fullback, and then saying this, is it because of Carolyn's out the picture? Which I have heard, Carolyn is out the picture. I don't want to upset everyone on this thing. As far as I'm aware, we're not getting Carolyn. So maybe it's like the Carolyn alternative, and we was targeting Carolyn, wasn't we?
I don't know. I just think. Sorry, Nat. No, I just think. Top class player, top talents. They should be linked to our club anyway. We should be in for them, but I just don't know. I don't know yet where she's gonna fit, because I'm guessing during the show we're gonna talk about players that Mark brought in and etc. So it's just where she's gonna fit in his system and the team, to be honest.
This is where I suppose Vicky's just lined us up. Rich, what's going on? Lucia, Paris, both out of contract. Leah's the one that really. When I saw that article about the Leah thing, and we know what's happening. We've seen it with our top class players. Last year, this whole slow nonsense. What's going on?
I think with Leah, the impression I got in the summer was she had no interest whatsoever in going anywhere else. So whether United think that's not a matter of urgency compared to whatever else they've got going on behind the scenes, I don't know. She's an interesting one in that she's obviously a very good player, and she's had a massive impact on Man United, but she's 29. She's not one of those. She's not an up and comer that's going to go somewhere else and get better. She's probably hit that peak now in the last year or two. So I'd be surprised if she left. I'd be surprised if United allowed it. I just feel like it's an easy one to do. Like I said, I've not heard anything to suggest she wants to go elsewhere. I haven't heard any concrete interest in her. I think Garcia's an interesting one in that. Again, what I was sort of told last season was the plan was obviously she'd become more prominent, but she had to earn that in terms of starts, 90 minutes. And she was making an impact last year off the bench in a really good way. Like she was coming on the last 20 minutes of games and changing games, and obviously scored the winner against Man City, in the last minute. And then this season, it's obviously with JC up there, Mallard, Galton, and like I said, the wild card has kind of been Nikita Paris in terms of, she got a bit of stick last season, obviously not stick, but obviously it wasn't a signing that was high on probably Man United's fans' priority list. I think I came on here and said I thought she could be a good signing, but I thought it would go the other way in terms of she'd probably have good first season, then maybe tail off a little bit, and it's kind of gone the other way because she's been flying this season, like absolutely flying in all competitions. So she's kind of keeping Garcia out of the team a little bit. So it's an interesting one with her because she's going to want to play at the end of the day. And if she's not a regular starter, that's a tough one to negotiate. So that'll be an interesting one to see how it goes. I think with Keats, similar to Leah in a sense that I think Keats she's moved around so much the last few years. I don't get any impression she's looking on going anywhere else. She's playing well. Mark values her. She's scoring goals. So I think her and Leah are probably the easier ones to do if United want to do it. I think with Garcia, I think it goes both ways. I think United will want to see a little bit more, but obviously she'll want to play more games as well. It's that kind of catch-22 where she'll be saying, well, you need to start me to, for me to show what I can do. Man United will be saying, well, when we do, it's not quite there. So it's an interesting one. And I think that's all part of, again, just hasn't quite clicked in that attack yet. You've got a lot of options, a lot of different players, a lot of different styles, and it hasn't quite come together yet. And she might be a little bit of a victim of that just because, again, how well Keats has done, Rachel Williams when she's come in. So, be interesting to see how it goes.
I mean, I'll bring you in, Lanzel, but Rich, I just want to come back to you on one little thing. Like I said, are you worried about what's going on at Man United? I mean, Vix has said, I wonder if they're on hold until Ineos is confirmed. We've all heard that Ineos is potentially going to be confirmed next week, and they want their own people. They want, Richard Arnold's already left, and I know that's maybe not affecting the women's team, but we've seen with the way that the Russo contract negotiations went, and we're seeing with the way the Mary contract negotiations are going, probably not. She's probably highly likely to leave. I expect it. If she doesn't, I'll be shocked. But I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about these players that you're saying want to stay. And we know Leah wants to stay. I know Leah wants to stay. And you're saying it's an easier one. But I think it might be an easier one. I think they thought Russo was an easier one. There's no such thing as easy, I think, with this club. No offense. I don't know what you think, Lanzel. Nodding your head. There's no easy because Yeah, we know what they're like. So if we're thinking it's easy, it won't happen. That's what I think. Just touch on that, Rich.
Yeah, I mean, I said it should be an easy one. I didn't say it was going to be. Yeah, it's dragged on a bit, hasn't it? The whole takeover thing, and obviously, me as a fan of the men's team as well, like been watching it from afar. It needs sorting, like it does, and obviously, it seems like Ineos are going to come in and obviously take that 25% initially. How it looks after that, what kind of control Jim Ratcliffe has, etc. Who knows what effect it has on the women? Who knows? I mean, look, there's been positive things. Obviously, the new facility and whatnot, which cost a lot of money and is a good sign. Yeah, like you say, it's Man United, isn't it? Things should be simple, and it's not always that easy. So, yeah, it needs some kind of confirmation because they need to know where they stand. Like I said in the summer, I don't always think it affects the women as much because the budgets are smaller, the fees you're talking about and the wages you're talking about are smaller. But so it's all very relative compared to the men, where you're talking about millions and millions and millions of pounds. So yeah, but I think you always want that little bit of clarity on what's going on and what the situation is.
Lancel, I don't know what you think. I think I agree with what Rich is saying about it doesn't always affect the women, but we know with this club, everything affects everyone. The incompetence, it just drips down to when they're cooking the food and it's coming out raw, you know what I mean? That's where it comes from. It's from the top and it's rotting our club. And, are you worried about these contracts? We're talking about Lucia, like you just mainly brought up. Maybe Paris and Leah are more likely want to say, I know in my heart that Leah wants to stay, but she also wants to get paid what she's worth. She's been at this club. She is Man United, So what's going on?
This is
It's
the
an
thing.
easy one. Do it.
Yeah, this is the thing. Again, I'm going to agree with Rich. Again, I think Leah will get done. Leah wants to stay. I think it's been clear that she wants to stay. I just think as well, we've got to be looking into how the women's game is evolving with how the agents are now starting to run contracts and things like that. So certain things might be easier on the eye, but behind the scenes, you've got agents pushing for maximum money, etc. There's a lot of more money coming into the game, the expansion of the league and all that kind of things that's going on. But I expect Leah to sign. I expect Keats to sign because of the season she's had. Again, Mark does value her. The right side is hers at the moment in time. Garcia, for me, it might be cliche, but I think it will be a case where she's not playing games as much as she would like to as a starter. Go back home. She's back in a comfortable environment, even though she does like Manchester. And I just see it's one of them kind of signings where it might be like, well, love the fans, love the club, but it's time for me to go back kind of thing. I think that it might be a situation like that, unfortunately. But yeah, I do expect Leah to sign. I do expect Keats to sign, especially under our manager, which he values them. You can tell they'll probably start every game, really, with the form that they're on. So yeah, I do expect that to happen, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I hope. And I only hope that with the new ownership that we see that change, But yeah, if players want to be here, like you said, Leah and Lucy have seen those kind of things. And I think, yeah, Keats, she could go to Liverpool, but why would you go to Liverpool when we're just
I think that with Keats, it's because of the season she's having now. Yeah. It's like she's on fire. Yeah. So why would you let her go? And the experience, we got to think about, we're building a team for 4 years, 5 years. We've got players on loan to come back, but we still need some sort of experience and core players in our team. Do you get what I mean? So I do see her staying. Maybe I don't know what the length of the contract would be. Same thing with Leah. I see her staying. I don't know what the length of the contract will be, but yeah, Lucia is a 50-50 for me, to be honest with you, moving forward.
I want to, suppose, touch on this. What Vix is saying. You don't want to see such a big turnover, and we did see a big turnover, but I think it was turnover and upgrade. And then I think you've even mentioned it, haven't you, Rich? We've had Jace come in, we've had Malo come in, we've had who else? Hinny come in. Do we bring anyone in the wing? Obviously Gabby, but she got injured. What's her face? Gemma Evans, and then there was some. I don't even know. There's so many players coming. I don't even know who signed. Yeah, but I know that they're top class. The players that left, it's been an upgrade. Yeah, on paper, and I mean for me, he started to. It's hard. I don't know why. I mean, it's like with the men's team, we've had those kind of players coming in, and it's not really gelled. And I get it; it takes time. But then it was 10 games he needed. Then he had them 10 games. Now he's talking about he needs 3 months. So I don't understand how you can have 3 months. Look how short this season is. You need to be doing it now. And for me, when Mallard started against Arsenal, and then she played against Everton, and then every time I see Mallard score a goal, it's down the middle. But then he said Mallard wants to play on the left, but I'm going to play on the right. And then Leah said, I mean not Leah, what's her face? Lucia said I want to play on the left, but he's playing me on the right. And I get it, you got to be adaptable. But come on, be serious. For me, be serious. Like, I'm seeing Mallard score down the middle. Put Jace on the right if you have to, or whatever. And then, like you say, Keats on the left. Bring in people. Oh, Emma Watson, we're not seeing her. That's one that I was looking forward to. But yeah, she'll be back. Rich, what's going on? He's bringing these players in. Yes, I get the time to settle, but it just sort of looks like we just don't know what we're doing, and they're getting moved about. And what's going on with her?
Yeah, I think start of the season, I think you had a bit of a go at me, Nat, when we did this in the summer, and I said it might take a little bit of time to gel, and it did. But you're right, it shouldn't. We're at Christmas now nearly, and they probably. I think things are always overemphasized either way. I think people either want to praise them too much or criticize them too much. I don't think it's ever like that. I think it's always they fall somewhere in the middle. I don't think they've been fantastic. I don't think they've been terrible. I think that sometimes they've clicked, certainly against the lesser sides. They look like they've really clicked into gear a few times. The Man City game was weird because I actually thought they started it very well, and they were unlucky not to be 2-0 up and then just collapsed. And yeah, I don't think the defence and the goalkeeper hasn't been the same level as last season. But yeah, the attack, I mean, it takes time for a number of reasons. Obviously, it's a lot of new players. It's a completely different way of playing. Like I said, last year it was kind of, you get the ball out to Leah, you get the ball out to Keats or Lucia. You had you had a focal point in the box in Russo that would hold the ball up, or just had that physical presence in the box, which is a little bit different this year. They're still finding roles for, like you said, Miyazawa. Hasn't really found that spot yet in the team. Now she's obviously picked up this injury with Japan. Yeah, it was interesting because it was something that was really noticeable that first game at Aston Villa when JC started up front. And I mentioned it at the time, she was constantly drifting out to the right, and she was brilliant. She was causing all kinds of problems. But there was no one in the middle when she was putting balls in the box because that was meant to be her. Then obviously Mallard came in, took a few games because obviously she's not really had a pre-season. She was coming back off an injury. But it started to look okay. Even against the top sides, against PSG at LSV, it worked very well. So yeah, you just feel, you do feel like it's being overcomplicated a little bit. Look, they see them in training every day and they put their plan. Obviously, they know a lot more than we do, but you're right in that JC looks better going from the wing. Obviously, she's incredibly skillful, very technical. I think Mallard's more of a scorer. It's an interesting one because JC's finishing this season has been quite frustrating to watch at times, but before she went to Barcelona, she was top scorer in Liga F for Madrid. She scored like 20 goals. So it's in her, and you see her score for Brazil as well. But yeah, I don't know. It does feel like they're still looking for it. I think Marc's doing a bit of expectation management. Like I said, they've got away with it a little bit to an extent because Arsenal have had a couple of bad results. Man City have had a couple of bad results. So that kind of race for second, I mean, look, Chelsea are obviously running away with it a little bit at the moment. Obviously, they've got a big game on Sunday, which will go a long way to looking how it looks going into the new year. But yeah, everyone's kind of Man City probably haven't capitalised as much as I think people would have thought they might, given they didn't have a big turnover. Arsenal did have a little bit of a turnover. United had a big turnover and probably had that inconsistency that you'd expect. But yeah, it does feel like they're still looking for a solution, which after a couple of months, okay, even now you might just give them the leeway. But if it runs into the new year and it's still looking like they don't really quite know what the plan is, then that's when you're starting to have issues.
I just want to touch, and Lancel, I don't know what you think, and then you can come back in, Rich. We lost Martin Peterhoe. For me, he was the guy who knew what he was doing. He was the guy who was on the training pitch. I'm not saying that Mark wasn't on the training pitch with him, yeah, but he was the guy on the side of the touchline that was shouting out the instructions. He was the guy they all came to. He did, analysis with players, meetings with players. And yeah, things change. This new guy's coming in. Maybe he's going to do all that. I don't know, But what's going on? Because people are telling me, what's the plan? Does Mark know what he's doing? Does he know his best? And then, yeah, he's had a lot of players that have come in. But, we wanted to see rotation. We didn't see it last year. Now we're just seeing over rotation and just rotation for the sake of it. And it's just like madness. So what do you think? What do you think the problems are? I mean, there's a lot of people saying get rid of Mark and the problems will be solved. A lot of people are saying the same about Ten Hag. I think the new owner should come in and see for a bit. It doesn't mean months and months and months. Just see how it goes. But like what Rich is saying, by Christmas, after Christmas, if we're still looking the way we are, I want results. We want to finish in the Champions League.
You know what, Nat? Yeah. You see, with Mark at the moment in time, I think he's overthought. Like the derby, I thought he overthought things. Do you know what I mean? You keep it simple: a 6, an 8, and a 10. I have to keep going back to that comment you made: a 6, an 8, and a 10. That's it. Square pegs in round holes at the moment. You understand what I mean? We've all said it before. Is Katie Zellem's best position a 6? She might be better in an 8. In my opinion, she's better in an 8. The only 6 that we've got, and I'm guessing we'll touch on it in a bit, but the only defensive midfielder that we've got, I believe, is Lad. So,
yes,
I just feel like, we're talking about Mallard. Mallard scores them, I would say, like instinctive goals, like a Rachel Williams, etc. I think they're the only 2 out and out number 9s that we have. I think like what Rich was saying, like what Natalie's saying, and people in the comments, Jay-Z's more of a drifter, maybe on the right. We've got wingers that like to play on the left, but they play on the right, etc. So I just think that Mark needs to keep it simple, because we know that when he gets his players and they're ticking and they're clicking away, we're playing good football. However, it's a one-dimensional plan, in my opinion, because once that plan gets sussed out, then where's the plan B? It's like hitting it long, and it's just things like that, which is a bit frustrating. And obviously, from the season that we had last year, got into the Champions League. I think PSG, we had a good game, to be honest. And we're trying to get the title. I know we got second and etc., but no one's in here to play second. No one knows about second. No one cares about second. We need a trophy this year. We've been all saying it. We need a trophy. We need to get back into the Champions League again. We've got teams that are improving already this season, and we've dropped points this season as well. And obviously, I know in the seasons that we have, the games are short. So we know maybe 2 draws or 3 draws or 4 draws, it's going to come to bite us in the end. So I know it might sound a bit harsh, but at the moment in time, he has been failing a little bit in regards to expectations. But hopefully he gets it right coming this week, and we can push on and move on.
I want to touch. I just want to go to Rich, and it's sort of what Lanzell just said. Then 6, 8, and a 10. In last season, he did that. He had, even though I think he played them wrong, but I think he played Lad, Zellem 6, Lad, Zellem 8, 10, Tooney. I mean, it was good. We won games with that midfield. We went to Emirates, won games. For me, I think we were actually probably the better side against Chelsea with that midfield. Eventually we didn't put the ball in the net, but things like that. We saw it, we've seen it. And then I think it was the City game. Obviously, he played Zellem, Lisa, Tooney, and then he brought off, I can't even remember, but then Hinney came on, and I just think he's playing Zellum as that holder, and I've heard it. Farrah Williams has said it. The other girl said it. The bum one, Izzy Christian said it. Zellum ain't that player that you're wanting, and they're saying Lad is that player, but he's dropping Lad, and I think it's because they didn't start well. And at Arsenal game, they got overrun. So for me, yeah, probably not Lad and Zellum anymore. And he's playing Zellum, Hinney, and Tooney, and it looked all right, but that was against Bristol. It looks all right versus Liverpool in the Conti Cup. When you're playing like your City, for me, you need a stronger 6 in there. And everyone's saying, like I said, after that City, we need a 6. Well, it's something that fans have been saying for ages. So what, people are saying Irene, but she's not a DM. Like, what's going on? And people are saying Zellum doesn't work as a single pivot. You need Lad there, but I think the Lad gets overrun. So what was your view on the midfield currently? Because it's something I've been talking about for a while, Rich. And it's not against Zellum. It's not against this. No, it's about I want to see the best midfielders on the pitch. And
yeah, it's not clicking. It's not clicking right now. That's what the problem is. It's not clicking. It's not gelling. There's something off there at the moment in time that he needs to fix because he's the manager at the end of the day. What do you think, Rich?
I don't think anything's clicking. I don't think the attack's clicking, midfield, defence, goalkeeper. They've all seemed to have their issues at some point this season. But yeah, you're right. Last season it did work. Like you say, Zellum in particular got a bit of stick from fans, but it did work. Sort of Lad and Zellum sitting a bit deeper. Toon was obviously a bit further forward, and it was very structured. It was everyone knew their jobs. You had the 2, you had Toon as the 10. Leah played on the left. You had your striker up front, and that was it. It was very simple, but it was very effective. And fans didn't always like it, didn't always like the personnel, but it got results. And like you say, this season now, the attack, it's not the same. The midfield, it's not the same. Yeah, Lad's an interesting one because I think she's a really good player. I think she's a little bit limited in terms of the attacking side of the game, but I think she's a neat and tidy footballer. And the surprise with that is obviously, Marc worked with her at Birmingham. She was a big part of his Birmingham team there and played a vital role. So you almost think that he'd have that same value. It doesn't quite feel like that in terms of her importance to the team. But as you say, if she doesn't play, you don't really have the 6. I know Zellum's playing it, but I think Zellum's a good player. I think she creates a lot. I think she gets a bit of unfair criticism compared to other players. But I don't think she's a 6. I don't think she offers you that defensive side. And then, you've got the unknowns. Obviously, Guerrero has been injured, so we haven't quite seen the best of her, what her best role is going to be. Lisa Nelson's obviously in and out. Again, I don't feel like she's going to be a 6. So maybe, like you say, that's something they're going to have to look at. There's some good players out there, and obviously there's interesting markets you can look at in January in terms of the USA, players that are contracting in the US, players that are contract in Sweden. That's always a big market for the WSL come January. So, look, Marc always keeps talking about that they work windows ahead and they're always looking. I'm sure they do. I'm sure every single team's looking. But, it hasn't. It hasn't clicked. And, I don't think that's helping the defence because there was that stability last year. And even at the back, I know obviously Honour's left, but not seeing the same performances from Maya, from Hannah Blundell, Earps in goal, something's not quite working, and I think it's unsettling other players that are still playing the same position. I think the only one you probably look at and say maybe has even taken another step forward from last season is probably Millie Turner. I think the sooner they get that midfield sorted, I always say the midfield's the most important part of your team because it protects your defence. It links up with your attack, and if you don't get that right, against Man City, they got ran through. They really did, and it was too easy. So it needs sorting out. They need to have a plan. And like you say, right now, they don't seem to really know what the best team is. Whereas last year, like you say, there wasn't a rotation, but it wasn't an issue because, the team that they were playing was winning. There was no need to rotate. Whereas this year, like you say, the rotation seems like it's coming more from they don't have the answer rather than rotating because they actually want to rotate. I think they're rotating, trying to find what works.
You on mute now?
I just said we've not got time to try, though. I just want to touch on this from Kevin. And listen, Kevin, we are positive. We love the girls, want us to do the best. And the men probably will lose. So let's be more positive. And I'm not saying we're not positive, Kevin, but I think this channel is about being realistic. We're seeing performances that are not good enough. We're seeing players, like Lanzell said, square pegs, round holes. And we're worried, you know. We've even seen best players leave. You know, if we don't get Champions League, our players going to want to come. I don't want to be like negative, but I think this is the realistic where we're at. I mean, I just want to touch on someone saying something about six and if we're going to sign six. I know someone said earlier in the video, Lanzell, they're saying fullback should be an area, and that is actually one where I'm. You know, if Jade goes down, my heart's in my mouth because I'm thinking, oh crap, who have we got? You know, so can you see us getting a fullback? As that must be the priority. I mean, I've heard his interview. I think it was Anton from Sky asked him, and he said, yes, fullback is what we're looking at this window, and you know, Swedish, Norwegian, NWSL even market is open, free agency, not just talking about free agency, but we know we've got money. We know they're going to spend money, hopefully, because like you said, it's limited. But is that your main position? Like, where do you think, or do you think no, a six as well, or what do you want to see this January, Lanzell?
I want both. I want a six, and I want a fullback, and I want a fullback that's actually going to push, not just a fullback that's going to sit on the bench. I need a starter. I need a fullback that's actually going to push Hannah to new levels and push Jade. And you know, it's a shame really that Gabby's injured because I think she started her career very well at United. So yeah, so I ate my words there, but you know, but we wish her a full recovery. But we need both. We need both because you know, you see the DM thing with the six. I don't know if we're going to get a six because look at the players we have in midfield. Irene would come back. Can Lisa play there even though we've seen her at an 8 and she can press? So I'm not sure, but a fullback is without a doubt. We have to be looking at that. And the markets that we're saying, NWSL, WSL, Swedish market, etc. We have to be bringing someone in that can push the fullbacks we've got currently. It has to be done.
Here's a question, and I just want to put it to Rich, and then I'll follow up. It's fine if you don't know, Rich, because I've heard a little thing. I think we even talked about it. Charlie Grant, free agent. I think Emma Sanders talked about Arsenal, Spurs, maybe someone else. I heard reports that we was looking at it, but we didn't want it. So is there another option? I mean, what do you think about her? Would she go well at United? I mean, saying not developed but decent. What do you think about her? I think she's coming to the WSL, let's say. But is it United should be looking at someone like Charlie or what?
I haven't seen a lot of her. I could see her maybe being that next level down, first and foremost, like coming into this league. I think if she was, I think maybe you'd look at more, I don't know, Everton, Tottenham, Villa, Brighton kind of thing. I don't think she would come in and offer anything more than a Jade or a Hannah at this stage. The fullback one's tough because I think in Jade, obviously, you can keep her there long term. You've got a good long term replacement for Honor. The other side, obviously, it might be more short term because obviously, like you say, Gabby's out, and she was obviously signed deadline day to be the left back, and then obviously after a few weeks she gets ruled out for the season. So, but obviously you still got Hannah, so it'd be interesting to look at whether they look at a sort of short term fullback or a long term fullback. Because I think in Jade definitely you've got a long term fullback. Maybe the other side, I think Hannah's still got a bit left in her, and hopefully Gabby comes back the same player because she had a really good year last year. She earned that move, and I thought she'd started quite well for Man United. So, yeah, I think January will be interesting for different reasons to last year. I think last year, like you say, it was looking more at adding a bit more quality, needing a bit more depth. Whereas this year, it's like, okay, you can sign players, but where do they fit into what are you doing? You know, what are you doing? And then where do these new players fit into that? Because they don't quite seem to have worked out what they're doing with the current players yet. So anybody that comes in, it'll be interesting to see the further plans for those, because you can't just keep throwing mud at the wall and hoping it sticks. You know, you look at Chelsea's men's team as a perfect example of, you know, you can go out and buy all the players in the world. You need to have a plan what to do with them. So, look, it's okay. Like I said, they've got away with it a little bit because of Man City, you know, losing at home to Brighton and things like that, and Arsenal losing at home to Liverpool. So they're still in that mix. But they need to click. Like after New Year, you know, you get a good training session time over Christmas. Obviously, there's not many games, so I think you need to see that extra gear after Christmas, or else they are going to get left behind, and you obviously run that risk. Then you don't get the Champions League spot.
Right, I've got a question for you, Rich, and I'll come back to Lanzell, and I see your comments, guys. Listen, keep them coming because I'm going to go back to them. Vicky saying that Charlie Grant probably going to go West Ham, so we'll come to other comments below that. Don't worry, keep putting them in. You're saying if they don't click after Christmas, blah 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 blah, they run the risk. So you're, in your opinion, Rich, if they don't click after Christmas, should they look at getting a new manager?
I think it's something they will run right to the end of the season. Obviously, it's an interesting one next summer because you could have a little bit of a, not a merry-go-round, but like there could be a big market for managers next summer. Obviously, Chelsea will be looking for a head coach. Man United, obviously, Marc is out of contract next summer. Man City, Gareth's out of contract next summer. So you could have three of the big four all conceivably looking for a manager. That opens the market up a bit. Obviously, there's some managers out there that are available anyway. There's some good managers elsewhere around the world that are out of contract. So I think you always assess your options and go, okay, well, can we get better? You know, who's going to work for this team? So I think, yeah, look, if it doesn't click and they don't make the top three, I think they've got a big decision to make. If it does click and they do get Champions League and it looks like they're starting to move forward again, then they've still got a big decision to make, but it might just be the other way in terms of potentially keeping him. The fact that there hasn't been any suggestion yet of a new contract or any murmurs of it, I think yes, they probably are going to run it to the end of the season and see what happens. But yeah, I look, if they take a step back and it doesn't look like it's working towards the end of the season, then if there is something better out there that they think can do better with this team, then I think realistically you might have to start looking at your options, and I think that's the same probably for Man City as well.
You're saying you've not heard murmurs, Natalie. Close to everything. Here's a bit of everything, whether it's true or not. Let's just say what we've heard. I heard that there are sort of semi talks, but I think maybe with I'm not saying with the bad start, but I just think maybe with the takeover, I think a lot of talks, not just the women, but I think a lot across the club. I'm hearing even maybe, you know, youth players, all that kind of stuff. I think a lot of it has maybe been stopped, and which is normal. It's normal in a takeover. There's no point putting Marc on a 3-year deal now, even though it's minimal compared to Eric. If then Jim is going to come in, I'm not saying that's what he's going to do, but you know, that's the kind of thing. And I feel like with United, especially the women's team, they just don't have a clue. They don't have a clue. They might, like you said, it's little money, but one day they'll ring up and it'll be, hi, my name's Polly. And next day it's, hi, it's Sam. So it's just all over the place. They need that structure in place. And I feel like that's what the takeover is going to happen. They're going to put a real structure in place. We know Polly's there. We know this one's there. We know that one's there. Harvey, someone talked about some other thing. You know, these people, I think they've actually recruited really good players. But like you said, Chelsea throwing mud against a wall and, you know, hoping it sticks. What's the plan? What's the thing? I want to just bring up this, and you can come in after Lanzell. Don't you, man? Saying good managers, who's out there, Rich? And someone's asked me as well. They personally messaged me because they knew you were coming on. What's going on with Beb Friesman at in Canada because she's looking for a manager. Maybe I'm not saying she's please no one from Canada kill me, but have you heard anything about that? And do you think she's good enough? Because yes, she has now done it in Canada. They didn't have the best World Cup, but I heard that when she was just before Canada, she was looking at a managerial job. Another manager got it over her. So what? Would that be a person or no or yeah? Brad Pearson, talk to us.
It's hard. Like national team coaching is very different to club coaching. Yeah, she did a good job, obviously, with the Olympics. It's gone a bit backwards since then. I always find them really hard to compare club and national team because, like, you can't. I think international management's a lot more about coaching. Like, I think you get found out a bit more because you can't just go out and sign players. In a club, if you've got problems, if you want a new left back, you can go out and sign a left back. If you're the Canada national team coach and you want a new left back, you've got what you've got. So I think it's a different ball game. I think I'd always be looking at someone. You do see people go between, and that's why I'm so intrigued about seeing Emma go to the US. But you kind of get your national team coaches and they stay national team coaches. You get your club coaches and they stay your club coaches. Like you look at, obviously Serena, staying in sort of national team coaching. She hasn't really come into the club game. And I'm not saying she wouldn't succeed, and people have, but if I was looking for a new manager, I'd probably want to look on the club scene, somebody that's on the grass day to day, transfers, negotiations, the market, all of that, which you don't really have to worry about as a national team head coach. So I'd probably be looking elsewhere in terms of, I think you'd probably look within, unless you get an absolute elite manager from the national team that's proven it in the club game. Bev hasn't really worked in the club game, certainly not as a head coach. So I'd probably want to look within the club game if I was changing my manager. That's not just Man United. That's my view in general.
Who would you go? Who would be a name, Rich? You think's a top class manager that could do it in a top club? Because people have put Wardy, people have put that Mel Phillips. No, yes, and I'll come to you, Lanza.
No, I don't think they're ready for a job. I think if you're Man United, if you are getting rid of Mark, you're looking at someone that's going to take that next step, and the next step for Man United is
Champions League.
And they've got far, and last season was a very good season in terms of finishing clear second, taking the title to the last day, getting to the FA Cup final. I think Mark and the whole coaching staff probably didn't get enough credit for last season. But the next step is winning something and being in the Champions League consistently. And I think if Man United, you want to be looking at the best you can get rather than someone that's maybe coming up from a team lower in the league. That's nothing against Wardy. It's nothing against Mel. I don't know. I'm trying to think of there's so many managers out there. Like the NWSL is always a hard one to judge because it changes so much every single year. Like you could be top of the league one year and bottom of the league the next, and then vice versa. Gotham's a great example. I do like Juan, to be fair. The Gotham coach used to be at Tottenham, but again, it's a very unique league. But I think at the end of the day, it's not always about where they're from or their name. It's about who suits your team. At the end of the day, United now it's a bit more continental, technical players, flair players in your Mallards, your JCs, your Miyazawas, etc. So it wouldn't shock me if they went for maybe a more continental coach rather than a British coach. But yeah, I'm glad it's not me making that decision.
Yeah, so I've just put a few of your comments up, guys, and I just want to come to our resident pundit, Lanzel. We've obviously gone, you've heard what I've said, you heard what Rich says. What do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think if he doesn't do, bring home the goods, he'll go, and, who would you look at?
I think he's going anyway. That's just my opinion. I feel like the players that we brought in have been club signings. So that's why maybe that's the reason why he needs to have square pegs and round holes. maybe there's some signings that he wanted to get that the club didn't want to get because they have a way of moving forward of who they want to fit a certain profile. Who knows? So I do think that, and also as well, that could be a reason why contracts are not stalling, but they're on hold at the moment because who's going to be the manager moving forward? We've been in that situation before in previous years as well in regarding to players and what their playing time's going to be, etc., etc. So that could be one thing. But me personally, I just feel like Marc's taken us to where we need to be at this moment in time, and we've got a taste of what it could be like. Is he the man to take us over the line? I don't think so, personally. I think he's got good football. I think the football philosophy is great. I think somebody else could expand on that because every manager now in the current game, whether it's the women's or the men's, they all want to play like a Pep or whatever. So we can expand on that. There's managers out there that could expand on it, in my opinion. Thomas Struth is one of them. Wolfsburg, attacking football. We all crave attacking football. He's got big players. And also as well, I'm gonna say this as well. In the women's game, well, in the men's game, women's game, any game, football's for everybody. Players want to play for the club, but players want to play for the manager. And you know, I'm not saying does Marc have the pull because he's been in the game, so I'm not disrespecting him in that sense, but you can see, like, for example, with Villa, you know, players came out and said, I want to play for Carla Ward. You know, haven't really heard no players say that they want to play for Man United because they're a supporter and they love the badge, but they don't say they want to play for, you know,
no, it's true. True. He's saying it right, isn't he, Rich? I know you love the man, but you know, they all came, I want to play for Emma Hayes, all them big names. Mallard came and said, Man United, I'm in Old Trafford. Yeah. Irene, I'm in Old Trafford. Oh my God, this badge, this means so much. And I do agree with what you're saying, Lanzel, because they are club signings, in my opinion, because a lot of them said, when they did that thing, they talked about, have you spoken to him? Oh, I've not spoken to him yet. What do you mean you're not spoken to him yet? You're in your signing interview. Have you not spoken to him? I mean, Gabby George, when she came, I'm home. That's it. I'm done.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that the people want to, I don't get that with Marc. I get it. You know, got it with Casey. Jackie, the manager. Emma, you get that, don't you? Carla, you do get that. I mean, what do you think about that point then? I mean, Zoe's here saying male managers, she wants a female manager. I would like a female manager, but we can't always get what?
I'm with Zoe on that one, and that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I do want a female manager listen, I'm not saying male manager. I said Thomas Struth, and I like him as a manager. But I personally would like a female manager to manage the women's team. I personally would anyway, I'll be honest.
Yeah. So it's our personal preference that. But anyway, what do you think, Rich, just about the whole, you know, players aren't really coming out and saying, I'm signing for Marc. It's more the club or whatever, the ambitions of the club, hopefully. You're on mute, brother.
You're on mute, Marc.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I think it's a little bit unfair. Like, I don't get the impression players are going, like, in spite of him or anything like that. So, look, Marc's he's an interesting character in the way he talks, the way he tries to recruit people. I think some like it, some don't. But I think to say that, you know, the impression I got is that players do want to play for him, and he does have a pull. It's like any manager. Not every manager is going to be a player's cup of tea, and that goes for Gareth Taylor, Jonas Eidval, Emma Hayes, whoever. Like, so, yeah, I don't think, I can't speak for every single player, obviously, because every player you go for, you don't get, and that's the same for any club. But, yeah, I don't think he doesn't have a pull. Do other managers maybe have more of a pull in terms of what they've achieved, like Emma? Yeah, probably. But I don't think it's... look, having a club like Man United behind you is massive. Of course it is. And, you know, the lure of playing at Old Trafford and things like that. But, yeah, I've never got the impression that players don't necessarily want to play for him. So, but we'll see. We'll see how that develops.
Well, Rich, I got a question for you then. I got a question for you. Yeah, I'm not. This is not. We want Mark to do well because we love United. We're gonna support United anyway. But does Mark get Heath and Press at the time that Casey got him? If he was the manager, what's your thoughts?
Well, the Heath
No.
and Press, the Heath and Press one, for as far as I was aware, was more a club decision than the manager's decision. Not saying Casey didn't want them, because look, you're not going to turn those two players down, but yeah, I think there was a bit more to those deals. At that time was a really interesting period because obviously suddenly like the opportunities just opened up to bring these big US superstars over, and didn't work out with a massive amount of them. Like even Heath and Press had their moments. It probably you probably never saw the best of them. Exactly the same at Man City. Apart from Mewis did very, very well. Didn't really work for Lavelle. It didn't work for Dahlkemper. It didn't work for Morgan at Tottenham. But there were big opportunities there. Like United with US owners. I believe Nike were quite involved in bringing them over. So I'm sure Casey didn't not want them, and I'm sure Mark would have wanted them. But I do think they would have happened, whether it was Casey, Mark, me, you, Nat, whoever. So yeah, I think they were pretty unique circumstances, and that wasn't necessarily restricted just to United. I think there was a few other clubs where it was just opportunities that arose that couldn't be turned down. Obviously, during that COVID period when these players were looking for what was always going to be a short-term solution.
Yeah. I just want to come back to something that I said I would come back to, and it's again transfers. I mean, we talked about Mark. I think it was to still be. It's never going to end, this debate, is it? This course around Mark is never going to end. And if he wins, like you said, I'm sure maybe he's got that. If he takes us Champions League winners, I think, then he's in the power. If he doesn't, then I expect to see movement. But that's what I'm sure he expects as well, because we demand the best. I just want to touch on this, what Nam said earlier on. Do you see Earps leaving in January? For me, I think I think they've already got something lined up. I read an article by Catherine who says she's already changed her agent. We know what happens with things with agents. You've talked about it, Rich. She looks not at the best form at the minute, making mistakes at United, making mistakes at England, crying her eyes out. And I know a lot of people are up and down about it, left and right. She was liking tweets of Arsenal. We didn't like it, but she stayed in the end. And, what have you heard on this situation, Rich?
I haven't heard a lot since the summer, just because I've had 3 million other things going on in work and life since then. But yeah, it's an interesting one because the form has dipped for club and country. Like, that's been evident. I don't know whether that's just form, like that happens, or whether it is, a bit of a hangover from the summer and obviously all the speculation linking with Arsenal. I don't see her staying. I don't. I think it's a bit like Russo. I think once the writing's on the wall, would I sell her in January? I think Fallon Tullis-Joy's done a really good job when she's played, but I still think you want those two good goalkeepers through to the end of the season. United don't need the money for the sake of selling her a few months earlier and potentially disrupting things, if Tullis-Joyce got injured, for example. So I do think she'll go. I don't think it's as big a blow as it would have been in terms of, her form last season was incredible. Form at the World Cup was incredible. She was best goalkeeper in the world at that stage. It's not been the same since. And the fact that United seem to have signed a very good goalkeeper who will probably become that number one. So I think they'll be pretty relaxed about it. Like I said, I think you can always see when the writing's on the wall, and I think you saw it the same with Russo, with Badger. So yeah, I think she'll go. I wouldn't do it in January unless Arsenal offered something ridiculous.
No. I won't be doing it to no Arsenal. That's what you're getting confused, Rich. Don't sell it to
Exactly.
Arsenal. Sell it to
Exactly. She's got to go abroad.
thingy, you know.
You can only sell a player to a
Germany.
team if they want to buy them, though. That's your problem.
But then you can only keep a player if they want to stay. So if she wants to go and the offer's on the table, let her go.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If the only offer's from Arsenal,
well, is it? Let
her go.
Maybe Paris.
Me personally, right? This is what annoys me. I'll be honest with you, right? This is
Well,
me personally. I don't understand. Listen, Man United, okay, 5-year project, whatever. Scrap all that, right? Man United is Man United. Arsenal is Arsenal, right? Okay, Arsenal have been in the women's game longer than us, etc. But why would you? I want to know the reasons why you would want to leave Man United right now. Like, to me, maybe I'm biased, and obviously because I'm a Man United supporter, but the project is there right now. You could become a legend. Why would you want to leave for an Arsenal or something like that? I don't understand it. Personally, that's my personal opinion. I don't understand that. Do you know what I mean? If it was like a Barcelona or a Lyon or something like that, I can understand, because you're guaranteed to be in the Champions League. You're guaranteed to win your domestic cup most of the time, etc. But United, you could become a legend to get your first trophy, you got us in the Champions League. Look how big it is. United as a name, as a brand, as you know, Rich, because you're a journalist. Once you put United in the story, blows up like that. So I don't understand where players, unless it's a money thing now, and it's like, well, we're not putting money on the table as much as an Arsenal and whatever, then I can understand that, because everyone's got to have a living. But we all know Man United's got money. You can see that from the transfer that we're putting down. We paid for Jays. Lisa Nelson was a Norway recorder, wasn't it? So I don't understand. That's just my rant for today, people. But I don't understand that.
Rich, come. Man asked you. Go.
All right, Rich.
well, I'll take the emotion out of it.
All right, Rich. Okay, emotion out of it now, right? You're a player, and you are playing for Man United, and you're basically starting every game except for maybe the Conti Cup, let's say, yeah. And Arsenal comes in for you and says, right, we want you to be at our club, yeah. Who do you choose? Do you stay or do you go to Arsenal?
Oh, look, I mean, I don't think it's ever as simple as that, because there'll be a variety of factors in it. I think probably a lot of it is things we've talked about, you know, the uncertainty behind the scenes in terms of the ownership, the uncertainty in terms of the manager and what's happening there. Are they moving forward? You know, Arsenal, I think, are again. I think with United, there's that question mark of, okay, short term, they've gone just a little bit backwards from last season, not much. And there's plenty of time to rescue that. But I still think, just because of the history, how long they've been doing it, they've given themselves, Arsenal have a bigger foundation in the women's game than Man United in terms of what they've won, in recent years, winning trophies, been regulars in the Champions League. They were in the semi-finals last season. They've won Conti Cups, they've won FA Cups. So I do think you take the emotion out of it. I do still think Arsenal have a slightly more of a lure than Man United. And that is something Man United have to work to change. By doing that, you've got to win trophies. You've got to show that there's stability behind the scenes. You've got to show that you're willing to go toe-to-toe with the best of the best. That's what Chelsea have done Chelsea, they go out, they win the league, and then they come back and they sign Macario and they sign Fischl and they sign Ashley Lawrence. Like, they never, ever stand still. They don't just say, okay, we won the league 4 years in a row. They go out and sign the best players. So, yeah, I can understand it. I don't think it's a one-size-fits-all situation. I don't think if you sat down 23 Man United players and said, okay, would you rather be at Man United or Arsenal? I don't think 23 of them would sit there and say, I'd rather be at Arsenal. I think a lot would rather be at Man United. Yeah. Some would say, I'd rather be at Arsenal. It's personal priority.
I think it is this grass is greener. I think it is like they think it's better because, yeah, like you say, last year, this and that. But what I've heard about Arsenal is that they've got exactly the same issues that we've got. If anything, Man United might be, yeah, we had the trick, but Man United might be a bit ahead. I mean, when all the shit was going down with, I think, when was it? Birmingham, and everyone was talking about, they're training this and that, and they've not got this. Exactly the same things with Arsenal. They didn't have a doctor, they didn't have that. So, yes, they have that history with Alex Scott, but if you look at recent history, what have they got? You know, I'm seeing 6 ACL injuries. I'm hearing that the guy overworks them. Like you said, you're not really hearing, I'm coming for Jonas, are you? So for me, maybe the fact that they've been doing it longer, yeah, you think it's more stable. But at the same time, like you're saying, they was running the show. Long before I even watched women's football, they was running it. But then now Chelsea have just boom. And then, like you said, it's this kind of point where we're at, where it's who's going to get second, anyone knows. Because Chelsea are probably going to win it. But then who's going to do the rest? No one knows, because it's all, everything's up in the air. And we're talking about policies, scattergun. The way they signed that girl, Cooney Cross, we was interested in her. It was thought that we had it done. Maybe it was exaggerated talk, but thought that Chelsea had it done. And what did they do? Oh, I've got 500k or whatever, 400k. I was going to spend it now. That's what they did with Russo. We don't know what we're doing. We're just going to spend it now. For me, that doesn't look like stable. Just looks like we're just guessing. And I think that's what they're doing.
Look at Hurtig.
Yeah.
Hurtig can't even get in the team.
Look at Krull. Is her name Krull? The thingy. A lot. I've heard a lot about that. Look at Gio. I've heard a lot about that. So I'll say it. Yeah, they're not very happy there. Yeah, so Arsenal look better from the marketing department. Yeah, of course. They're selling out the stadium. They're doing that. Tarnished by the Glazers. Yeah, of course. I think tarnished by the fact that Casey left. I don't think a lot of them really like. I know you said differently, Rich, but I don't think a lot of players like Mark, and maybe that's why part of the reason. I don't know, but I don't know if you want to come back with anything, Rich, because I've got another question. No, you don't want to come back? No.
I think there's I think it's always a little bit short-sighted. I think Cooney Cross was one of those where it was a little bit like what Chelsea did with Hannah Hampton in terms of getting ahead of the game. I think they knew Cooney Cross was going to be a free agent in the winter, and she had every top club looking at her. And yes, it was going to cost a lot of money, probably over market value, to get her in the summer, but they got her. And you know, she's a player there for the future. Cool, similar, like, you know, Kim Little is well into her 30s now. She's not going to be around forever. So yeah, it's long-term planning. Like, yeah, Gio's a little bit of hasn't quite worked out. It might still. But yeah, I think it's always worth remembering players aren't going to go straight in and play straight away. There's a certain amount of long-term planning involved. So yeah, I think I can see why Arsenal is a bigger low. I can see why Man United is a bigger low for some players. I think it completely depends on the player, but I don't think you have to work too hard to understand why Arsenal is still such a big low for players, particularly in the women's game.
Okay, well, moving on to this. This is one that she's going to go. And then Ellie Roebuck. I just want to touch on it because I think it is going to have an impact. And I think there's going to be then goalkeepers moving. Because then Nam has said, and I've heard this whisper, I don't know if you've heard it, Rich, I know you've been busy, but Roebuck to United, not saying Roebuck's bought, if Roebuck goes to Arsenal, where, you know, that's what I'm saying. So that Roebuck is more gettable for me than potentially us selling Mary to Arsenal. I mean, what do you think, Rich?
She can come on to Sheffield United if she wants. Yeah, she's a... sometimes these situations come along where things just spiral for a player a little bit. Like, I think you've got to remember, Roebuck is still so young as well. Like, she's been around forever, but, you know, she started playing when she was 16. So I think it's just... She had the injury that kind of killed her a little bit, because she was actually England's number one at that point. She'd been Team GB's number one, and then she came out of, I think it was when she came out of the Olympics, she had the injury. She was out a lot longer than expected. That was the period, obviously, Serena Wiegman came in, and she wasn't around, and Earps was playing okay, and, you know, she got that number one, and obviously Earps has kept it for England ever since. And with Man City, yeah, it was just a little bit of a one little mistake sort of became two little mistakes, and it just spiraled, and then kind of came to a head, obviously, when she got sent off against United at the end of last season. And obviously Cara has done well. I still think there's a long way to go with Cara Keating, but you can't really knock how she's performed. She had the mistake against Arsenal, obviously, but I still think out of the three Man City goalkeepers, I think Ellie will have the highest ceiling. Sometimes it just doesn't work out, and yeah, I think definitely at that point of she probably has to go elsewhere now to start rebuilding things. She's got loads of time to do it because she's still young. I don't think it'd be Arsenal. Like I say, I think Arsenal have set themselves on Earps. Where Roebuck will go, I don't know. It'd be interesting. I could see her going abroad because I know there's been interest from abroad in Roebuck for many, many years. And I think as a sort of modern day keeper that's always playing out from the back, she's very good at that. I think she suits the European game. So, yeah, look, things can change, but I don't see it having a massive influence. Like I said, I think similar to Russo, I think once you get the writing on the wall, there's enough signs that point towards something happening. So it's a shame for her that it might not work with Man City long term, but then they don't know. They might replace the manager and a new manager might want to keep her on. So we'll see. But yeah, I could see her leaving, definitely, if things don't change, but I don't necessarily think the two situations will overlap.
I don't know if you got any words, Lanzel. I'm going to just put this next comment on from a while ago.
Now, I'm just going to say about Roebuck. Yeah, I see that she might be leaving. Where she goes, I don't know. We're a funny club as well, so I do see us maybe looking at it if we let Mary go in January. It could be a goalkeeper merry-go-round. Mary goes to Arsenal, we take Ellie, Zinsberger goes to Man City. Who knows? It could be something wild like that. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. But if it's not January, then I think end of the season. I think that she'll leave to get first team football.
This is interesting. What Vix has said. Roebuck's liking Arsenal tweets. I know people get upset by it. I don't like it either. I don't think they should be doing it. I know if it was in the men's game, we'd see it all. I'm not keen on it. But it is what it is. It's the game now, isn't it? Someone said before, Olga from Real Madrid, I've lost the tweet now, but E-Wheel said it. So come back in, bro. Can you see that happening, Rich? Can you see, I've heard a lot of talk of Real Madrid want to get rid of a few players. I'm not saying Olga, but there's Teresa, the number 6, and that's one that she did not offer her a contract yet, and that's a good quality, World Cup winner in that defensive midfielder option. Can you see United signing either Olga or the Teresa, Spanish international, both of them? Teresa.
I mean, they're very good players, but I think they're Spanish. They've got a good thing going on at Real Madrid. Olga's probably in the form of her life in terms of the 12 months that she's had. Obviously, the goals that she scored for Spain. So, yeah, look, I'm sure Man United would love to sign players like that. I'm sure a lot of clubs would. I was massively impressed with Teresa in the summer when obviously Patrick Vieira didn't go to the World Cup. I thought she was very, very good. Don't get me wrong, the Spain team can be an easy team to look good in because they're so in control and they can bomb forward. I still think they got caught out a bit defensively. They certainly did against Japan. So yeah, it's an interesting style because it's kind of all just about going all out attack kind of thing, which is a little bit different to playing in the WSL. But obviously, I said in the summer, Moroni at Lyon was the one that they wanted. Didn't happen. Lyon didn't want to sell. That happens. I've never heard anything. I mean, yeah, I'm sure if you offered those two players to any team, they'd probably want to sign them. But I don't think it'll. I haven't heard anything to suggest there's anything in
either. Lanzel, what do you think about Teresa? Because I have heard that Real Madrid made her an offer and it wasn't considered acceptable considering her profile. World Cup winner is very minimal, let's say, and she's out of contract in the summer. And like you say, World Cup winner, number 6, dictated, was I think voted the best number 6 in the World Cup. Obviously, it's not just World Cup. She's been. I think it's because other players were playing. So, she's not played as much, but she's a young player up and coming. What do you think about Teresa maybe coming to United?
Same thing. I'll take her. But you see, this is the thing. It all depends on if she's gonna play, what the minutes, what minutes she's gonna play, because she'll be coming to United to play games. And that's the thing. Like, she would want to start, wouldn't she? Like, you know, like, look at Lisa. Lisa wants to start, but he's gradually bringing her in games, but she'll probably still like a bit more minutes. But one thing I was gonna ask, Rich, you know, we see in the game that we're building up like club connections with like Lyon. We've got Mallard on loan. We had Brun on loan, etc. We was in for the fullback that you were talking about. We started doing business with Barcelona. We got Jay-Z from there, etc. Do you think, like, maybe in January we could be looking at teams that maybe they're good players, but they need a bit more minutes, and we maybe just get a loan, and then
One, Rich?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's never the worst. You don't want to be someone that takes the other team's cast-offs, because you want to, you know, Man United I think are better than that, but it can work. Like, I think, and as soon as I heard it on deadline day, I thought Mallard would be a very good signing, because sometimes, yes, there is a good player at a club that just has world-class talent in front of them, as you do at a club like Lyon and Barcelona, obviously. So, yeah, I think if you can take players that are dropping out of clubs like that, then yes. And obviously they've established relations. It's not always so much the clubs, it's the agents as well. But yeah, look, it's not the worst thing to do. Like I said, there's some good markets in the winter in terms of Sweden, USA, etc. So yeah, we'll see. But like, I think as well, you want a long-term plan as well. You don't just want to sign players on loan.
Yeah.
Just a quick one, I suppose, Rich, back to you. Can you see Mallard staying beyond the loan? I heard it was a option to buy thing, but what do you think? I know she's loving it. She's definitely loving it.
They have an option to buy in it, as far as I'm aware.
Good.
So I think, yeah, I mean, look, is she going to go back to Lyon and play regularly? I'm not sure. So yeah, I think if it's one they want to do and she wants to do, I don't see why not.
Just another name that's come up, guys, and we'll wrap it up. Like, or if you, whatever anyone wants, because I know that the game started. Paula Thomas from Levante, and she's a fullback, really good. And Levante have just come out today or yesterday and said that they're cutting the women's budget. So for me, that means players are going to come available. I mean, players are already available from Levante. We know we can get players from Levante. Honor came from Levante, definitely a place we can look. I know he was linked to Eva, we wanted both of them. You know what you just said there, Lanzel. It's you know, we have that relationship, I suppose, I hope. With like a Levante players coming over and enjoying it at Man United from Spain. There's Spanish players in City. So I mean, Rich, do you think Levante would sell? They've come out with what they've said about, you know, cutting budget. And then, like you said, I don't know how much you know about her, but I think it's a name that I've seen, and she's young, and she could be that thing. Go on, you don't know her. Tell us, Rich, and then I'll come to you, Lanzel.
I know a little bit about her. Like, I haven't seen much of it. Obviously, yeah, I saw the Levante thing the other day. In terms of they might be cutting their budget. So yeah, it's one I'm sure. I heard a link to it. It might have been Arsenal, but that was a couple of years ago now. So yeah, look, Man United will have a massive list of players that they're looking at from all around the world. Like, you'd be amazed at how long these lists are of positions and players. They'll be scouting everybody that they can, and when they narrow it down to what positions they want, they will. So I'm sure she'll be on it, but I'm sure there'll probably be about 100 other fullbacks on it as well.
And Lanzel, I mean, I know we just, the way we do it is we hear what everyone's saying, and everyone has said that she's good.
Yeah. I don't know her personally as well, so I've got to do my research as well. But I know obviously we got Honor from Levante. Is she Spanish? I'm guessing, or international? Yeah, they're technical players, aren't they? They can play ball. They definitely could play the type of football that we're trying to play. So, like I said, if she's any good player that fits the profile of what the manager wants or what the club wants, that could push the first team, then I'm obviously all for it. Like you said before, I think we're looking at teams like Chelsea, for example. If you look at their bench, I think even this year with us, we bought well this year, and you look at our bench, and it's definitely a lot more stronger. So if we can get more first team players, where we're looking at our first team thinking, all right, that's fine, but who we got on the bench to change the game, or the level doesn't drop when we bring other people in, I'm all for it, to be honest. I'm all for it.
Yeah. Anyone else? Any more questions? I think Nam's just saying worried about if Hedberg leaves. I think Hedberg's leaving anyway, but I think if we play Mallard, if we keep playing her, she'll stay. That's the impression I get, but who knows? Hope she stays. Why would we sign another young player? I don't know. Maybe fill a gap. My worry with fullback currently, Nam, is that if one goes down, we ain't got anyone else, and
that's it. We'll have Gemma Evans playing there.
Yeah,
and she's a centre back for me. So
and then we're talking about square pegs, round holes, or whatever we're talking about. Exactly. So yeah. Listen, guys, we've been going 1 hour 16. The men's team's on. I think a lot of people are probably going to go and watch that. Hopefully they win, United. Hopefully next we have a takeover. We have more money coming in. We see a different structure, and then maybe I'm not saying it's going to completely change. We're going to flick a switch, and Jim Radcliffe is going to be the savior. But I just think if you just invest, get the quality people. And I think that's what we need as well in the women's game. I think we've got Polly in there, back her or let her move, and bring in like actual people who know the women's game and thing. That's what I want to see from the new ownership. I want to see the best in class. I think we've talked about, haven't we, Lancel?
Exactly. I think get the structure right, get the best in class in every position. The club will have to invest because we're going to demand it as fans. I think the way the game is going as well, they'll have to invest no matter what happens. It's just the fact that, we want to be winning. We want to be up there and challenging. And that's the only thing, and like I said before, we can criticize because we're fans, but at the end of the day, we're all Man United supporters, and we all want United to win. It doesn't matter who goes or who stays. United just has to win at the end of the day. If I won every game 1-0, I'd be happy. So that's all it is.
Well, we wouldn't be, because I think Mark even said we won 5-0. You weren't happy. I wasn't happy because I wanted to see a bit more. So yeah, but I want to see 3 points minimum. Yeah, that's what you want to see. I mean, from the lads, you want to see effort minimum, and that's what I've always seen from the girls. I always see effort, but then I'm starting to feel a bit sorry for them because I feel like some other things are going on and making them look a bit lost, whether it's right or wrong. Hopefully, it all gets turned around and it all clicks, gels, whatever. But I always see from the girls 100% effort, and I think we'll always see that till the end. Listen, is there anything you want to say, Rich, or?
You lot would never be happy. You could win 10-0 every week, you wouldn't be happy. I'll end on that. Until
my gold medal's around my neck, that's when I'm happy.
That's it, Rich. The standard is high, Rich. The standard is high.
The standard is high. Yeah.
You want to come to the championship? You want to come start slumming?
I'm always at the championship. I'm always there. Yeah. But listen, we love it.
Take care. Love it.
Care. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Goodbye.
See you later. Bye.
See you guys.